According to a UN Economic Commission report for Africa, intra-Africa trade has actually fallen since the launch of the Africa Free Trade Area. So why is Africa still trading more with the rest of the world than with itself? And does Africa and the development world still get fair and equitable treatment within the global trade system? Good morning. It's another power-packed episode of Business Week. Here you'll get to catch up on all the big business stories of the past week. Today we talk to Professor David Luke from the London School of Economics on Africa's place in global trade, while we look back on big stories from the week, including Transcorp Power's 1.8 trillion naira NGS listing, the crypto platform Binance's exit from Nigeria, as well as US Treasury sanctions on Zimbabwe's president. As always, if you couldn't keep up during the week, we're here to help you catch up. I'm Rolake Akinkugbe-Filani. Okay, first, we're going to take a look at markets from around the world. And to get us started, of course, will be oil prices. You can see here Brent is down by 1.06%. And also WTI is also down by 1.06%, despite OPEC saying it was going to extend supply and production cuts till the second quarter of this year. Data out of China is showing that demand may be a bit of a challenge, and we're seeing the impact of that slumping Chinese demand on the tech industry, for instance, with Apple realizing falling sales in that country. Natural gas is also down, and RBOB gasoline down. So global oil markets didn't have such a great end to the week. Let's take a look at what's happening in equities markets around the world. And of course, in Nigeria, bullish run on the stock market. The Transcorp lifting up the entire market mood. Look at that, over 100,000 points on the all-share index of the NSE, up by 0.99% at the end of trading of the week. And actually, year to date, the all-share index is up by 35.52%. Of course, bullish trading there on MTN, Dangote Sugar shares, and of course, Transcorp Power, which came to the market at 1.8 trillion naira in market valuation. I'll talk about that a bit later. But the equity capitalization on the stock markets, they're ending the week at 57.29 trillion naira. Let's take a look at Europe and North America. In Europe, the Euro Stoxx 600 had a somewhat positive end to the week. Of course, ECB, the European Central Bank, kept its rate outlook unchanged at the last sitting. This may be signs that they are anticipating that their inflation targeting could be working, but we wouldn't know that till the next round of review of rates. But FTSE share, all-share index in London was down by 43 basis points, and a mixed picture across the rest of European markets. Let's take a look at North American stock markets, and we'll start with the Dow Jones Industrial Index, which had a fairly positive end to the week, going up by 21 basis points. S&P almost flattish at 0.07%, and NASDAQ was down, again almost flattish, but in the other direction at 0.02%. Here are my top business picks for this past week. Let's take a look at what was interesting. I talked about Transcorp Power, which helped rally the market during the week. Transcorp went and did a listing by introduction on the Nigeria exchange at 1.8 trillion, listing its shares at 264 naira per share. But by the end of trading on the first day, its valuation was up to about 1.9 trillion. It's well over the SWOT threshold. It's now approaching the 2 trillion naira market valuation there. And of course, it's the second power company to list on the exchange after Gerugu Power. Gerugu Power is actually trading at about 55 times the book value. Transcorp trading at 25 times to book value. So we'll see how much upside there is in Transcorp. And of course, the Transcorp Power listing did also boost the parent company, the conglomerate capitalization valuation on the markets, because Transcorp Group itself was up at the end of the week. Let's take a look at the second story here. The US Treasury has imposed sanctions under the Global Magnitsky 2016 Act against Zimbabwe's President Mnangagwa. And the US Treasury is essentially saying and accusing the president and some other allies of illegal smuggling of gold and diamond exports from Zimbabwe. Now, what has happened is that President Joe Biden has withdrawn a broader economic sanction policy against Zimbabwe and essentially replaced it with a targeted sanction against the Zimbabwean president and some of his allies, accusing them of illegal smuggling of gold and diamond exports, so freezing their assets and the assets of a host of other players in the Zimbabwean market. We'll see how that story evolves and develops. Apple in China has lost its crown as the top smartphone maker. It's seen its sales slump by about 24%. On the other hand, Huawei, its closest competitor, has seen its sales rise by 64% in the Chinese market. Now, a lot of Chinese consumers were switching their appetite from US goods, of course, China having many problems with the West, to Huawei. But Apple is not just competing with Huawei, it's also competing in the mid-market, so companies like Vivo as well, and not such a great outlook in the short term in the Chinese market for Apple, but I guess Huawei is reaping the benefits of that change in consumer appetite for Apple smartphones in the Chinese market. We'll see how that pans out. And interestingly, the Apple shares were down 2.8% on the American market as a result. Binance has left Nigeria and it's ended its services in local currency. Of course, if you've been following the news, in the past week, the Nigerian Authorities Securities and Exchange Commission has introduced new guidelines for cryptocurrency platforms and cryptocurrency operations in the Nigerian market. Now, Binance has said anybody who still had local currency balances on their Binance platform should convert that or convert it to USDT, a stable coin, which is pegged to the US dollar. So Binance finally leaving its operations in Nigeria after a heightened week of controversy over its operations and apparent alleged impact on the value of the Naira. Let's look at what else is happening across Africa. Egypt has raised its interest rates by, get this, 600 basis points, right? A 6% hike in the interest rates in Egypt, and it's devalued its currency by over 38%. Egypt has been facing a cash crunch. It has about a $3 billion IMF loan, which it's looking to bump up to $10 billion. So these moves around monetary policy, according to observers, are key to securing that loan, increased facility with the IMF. Interestingly, some weeks ago, the UAE extended Egypt a $38 billion facility. So interesting times for navigating the monetary policy and economic challenges in the Egyptian market, but hoping to chart a new government, the government of El-Sisi there, hoping to chart a new dispensation with its external creditors. And finally, what do I have here? IMF Chief Georgieva is looking to be re-elected to her position. She's been there. The Bulgarian economist has been there since 2019. She has the backing of France and Germany, the two biggest markets in the EU, but still needs to do a bit of lobbying to get and secure the backing of the US. The US had last year accused her, or 2 years ago, accused her of influencing the World Bank report on the Chinese business environment. So she's going to have to do quite a lot of advocacy and lobbying to ensure that she secures the US support. And of course, the IMF role historically post-World War II has always been reserved for a European technocrat. Of course, the World Bank role as an agreement between the two blocs reserved for, well, I guess US technocrats and anyone else around the world. That's it for my top picks for the week.